All right, good afternoon. This hearing will now come to order. We will now resume the Committee of the Whole with departmental callbacks, and then once we've concluded with departmental callbacks, we'll go to Community College of Philadelphia. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to start by talking to the Managing Director's office. Good afternoon. The last time we spoke, I started our conversation by talking about my Keep It Local legislation. Keep It Local was a bill that we passed coming out of COVID, and the purpose of the legislation was to encourage and incentivize people to invest in Philadelphia. Our thought process was it's very difficult to ask others to invest in Philadelphia if Philadelphia isn't investing in Philadelphia. So over the last couple years, we've been able to see a significant increase as it relates to procurement opportunities, specifically for Philadelphia-based businesses. In our previous hearing, we asked MDO to explain why we've seen a significant drop in both contracts for Philadelphia-based businesses as well as Black and brown-led businesses here in the city, and you guys were not able to provide that information. So I'm hoping that we can revisit that conversation today. I would like to see where we are as it relates to the Keep It Local legislation and what is happening as it relates to procurement opportunities for Philadelphia-based businesses.
Councilmember, appreciate that, and we did provide responses to those questions from the last hearing. Bottom line up front, in FY26 so far, we're at about 93% of our contract value went to local business enterprises, and in FY24, we've actually improved from 25 to 26, and 25.
You said what percentage?
93%.
Wait, time out. 93% of what?
93% of contract value, total value of contracts in the MDO went to local business enterprises. And then in 25, that number was 88%. So we've actually increased. And I will let Ron Hovey, our procurement director, talk about some of those things. And then we also have Nadir Jones here to talk about more of to answer the second part of your question, what we're doing.
Yeah, I want to be clear, and I'm curious to hear about managing director, and I'll bring my documents to compare, but we're not just asking about your department. We're saying procurement in general across city government. So the managing director's office is part of that conversation, and I'm glad to hear that your numbers are as well as they are, but we're really looking at the entire gamut as it relates to procurement opportunities.
Sure. Ron Hovey, Procurement Commissioner, and thank you for the question. I don't have the 2026 numbers as we're still processing those, but I do have 22 through 25. Managing Director's numbers were for his department only. Across the city, we have, our goal was in 2022, 46%, and then each year it was, this was our target, 46, 46, 47, 56. And our actual awards were 53, 62, then it went down to 54 in 24, and back up to 64 in 25. And we're on track to exceed the 64 for this year. Okay, but I don't have the full number because the year's not in yet. Now, there are two things that drive that. There are two different programs. There is a bid preference, we'll call it a discount, where when you're bidding, you get a credit. So if you're not the lowest, you get a percentage credit knocked off your price, which could move you from, a lower ranking to a higher ranking in a bid. The other program is a set-aside program where you bid only to local businesses. And so through the credit program, we've seen that steady uptick, but from the complete set-aside program, we've seen very little usage. We've seen less than just a couple of tens of thousands in total. So we know two things. The credit program, the discount program, is working in terms of driving local business usage, but the set-aside program, as constructed today, is not.
Okay, so I think where we need some clarity, and help me understand, because I know you had a conversation with me about some things as it relates to systems and things of that capacity. Why does it look like through MWDSB contracting, why does it look like, or why does it appear that there's been significant declines as it relates to local procurement opportunities and local contracts? Like what is happening with the reporting of information, whereas though it looks like there's been about $150 million less spent between the fiscal years as it relates to supporting these type of businesses?
So you're talking two different things, local business and MWBE
Yeah.
stratification of the numbers. And I'm going to let Nadir Jones address that because it's his department that tracks MWBE and small businesses.
Okay, that'd be
But
helpful.
they're two different things.
Yeah, sure.
And I would say that the numbers for LBEs don't always capture the full MWBE number. So there's probably, in the current state, there's probably an underreporting of that, but I'm going to let him finish the answer for me.
So good afternoon, Nadir Jones, Director of the Office of Business Impact and Economic Advancement. How you doing, council members? So yeah, we took a look at the year-over-year trends. So what we're going to plan on doing is doing a gap analysis to see what those impediments are, why the MWB spend has gone down. It can be an accumulation of several things. It can be the overall city spend maybe has gone down, or the lack of MWBs in a specific industry where where we don't have that availability to lend itself to subcontracting opportunities. So we're going to perform a gap-wide analysis across all city departments to get that information to you ASAP.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay.
And you can understand why there's some confusion around some of this stuff, and I think it's important that we remain diligent as it relates to our work in local procurement. Madam Chair, I did hear the bell. I just want to, for the record, Madam Chair, if it's okay, as the chair of the Education Committee, I'm not going to be able to sit through the entire CCP dialogue. I do want to commend our new president at CCP and thank her for her leadership as well as the entire team there. And I just want to ask CCP to make sure that in the midst of their testimony today, that they are addressing some of the concerns that's been communicated as it relates to the union that represents CCP. So I just wanted to put that on the record. MDO, thank you. I look forward to continued dialogue and hopefully take you up on the offer to meet to be able to have a deeper dive into this issue so I can better understand where we are, what we're doing, and hopefully we can work collaboratively to figure out how do we continue to invest in businesses, because I think you all would agree that we have done a good job over the last couple of years as it relates to local procurement and procurement opportunities. I just don't want to see us deviate in a different direction, especially in this climate that we're in right now with the affordability crisis that we're facing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilmember Thomas. Colleagues, we are now in departmental callbacks, and afterwards we will go into Community College of Philadelphia. For this round, we will have 3 minutes for callbacks. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have questions regarding the tax bill and then to L&I. So first question to L&I, just really quick. We have the FIFA Fan Fest coming up around the Lemon Hill area. And we know that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Philadelphians to participate in this type of global economy. The Fan Fest is only allowing 10 vendors per session or something like that to participate within the Fan Fest area, 10 local vendors. What's L&I's position on, or how can we how can LNI work with some of our local vendors so they can participate in this once-in-a-lifetime economic opportunity without being overly penalized by LNI? Because again, this is, people in our community, in our cities want to participate in this as well.
Hi, Bridget Collins Greenwald, LNI Commissioner of Quality of Life. So we don't determine who can vend in that area. That is actually done by Philly Soccer 2026.
Yeah, I know that. I'm
So,
talking about outside the area, right?
Yeah.
Or around the area, right? Because there are going to be people, who may be, at the zoo, or people who may be, on a parkway, right? Who are vending and want to participate in, again, this once in a lifetime opportunity where we're going to have thousands of people in our city,
So you're asking if we can educate those folks? Is that
I'm
what you're asking?
I'm asking if LNI can, how can I say this in my colloquial language, if LNI cannot be drawn, right? Don't just go out here like just heavily enforcing on Philadelphians who are just trying to earn a living during this time.
I'm gonna have to defer to that one because we can only enforce what's in the code. So we really shouldn't turn a blind eye to people that are not legally doing what they're supposed to. However, we do have a very robust education program where we do educate small businesses all throughout the city. And that's what I would recommend that any of these groups get in touch with. So you can see it on our website, LNI vending, here's how you apply, here's how you can do it. I totally suggest, but they have to, go through that process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Next question is for Mr. DeBoe regarding tax bills. Specifically on the delivery tax, this is something that I asked the law department. The legislation specifically states that the issues that are being caused by the delivery trucks. Why aren't we taxing DHL, FedEx, UPS of the like to pay for this tax? Why are we putting this tax on the citizens rather than the billionaire companies?
So the tax is trying to capture kind of the new activity, which is what we see from the delivery services, and that's why we proposed the tax the way we did.
One moment.
Sorry.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Young.
Thank you so much. Are we able to tax those companies rather than taxing the people?
The delivery tax you're talking about?
Yes.
So, do you want to talk about how it's levied?
So the delivery tax will be levied per delivery to the people who are making purchases and having deliveries made inside Philadelphia, so 25% per delivery. What's that? I'm sorry, 25 cents, not percent.
Yeah, we know that. We know what the proposal is, but the question is, can we tax the delivery companies versus taxing the people?
So I think kind of regardless of the way the tax is written, the delivery companies can make a choice about what they do with their pricing.
Man, this is the same argument with the other tax, regardless of how it's written, but if they do it in another way, then they're not following the law, right? So I would like, can we write the law in a way where we tax the companies?
So that we will have to talk with law and get back to you on that structure. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want to give a legal answer to your question. So we will get that
You're a
back to you quickly.
finance director, so or as an expert on tax policy, right? I would assume, and
You're asking a specific legal question, and we will get you an answer, but I don't want to answer something today that is not legally correct.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilmember Young. The chair now recognizes Dr. Ahmad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Actually, the question is along the first part of my colleague's questioning around small pop-ups, and I have probably a question for LNI. Let me just wait till Bridget gets here. Good afternoon. This weekend, I was up in the Northwest at something called Mount Airy Day. There were like 100 vendors in this space. I spent money. My husband bought me a bag. There's a woman who was making purses with the caps off of the cans, the bottle tops. Beautiful, beautifully done. She had many other wares. There were all kinds of, I bought soap, walked around. These were mostly pop-ups, most of these businesses. And I was chatting with, some were a little bit more established, and their biggest issue was how they can participate in the economy with not so much paperwork and not so many hoops to jump through. So I wanted to ask, I mean, these can be the incubators for bigger businesses, for established businesses. So there's a real value in them. So I was wanting to know what your department and potentially Commerce together are thinking about how we create a space with less regulation for these smaller ones, and can we, given our uniformity law and all of that, can we carve out spaces to attend to them in a different kind of way to support them? And what that process looks like now, and what could it look like streamlined?
Okay, so Bridget Collins Greenwald, LNI Commissioner of Quality of Life. So currently, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we do have a robust program with the Commerce Department. We call it B, Business Education and Enforcement, very clever. So we do that, we do have that. We also have gather vendors together and do some education for just them. We haven't done it in a bit. We did it the last time before we had a lottery. We did the Center City Lottery and we had vendors come in. We could certainly do that again. We can certainly work with Commerce and tailor it to smaller businesses. I agree with you. I go to those types of things all the time. It's not really that cumbersome to become a vendor, believe it or not. I think people might feel like it's a little cumbersome, so they don't get involved in the process. But it's really, you get your commercial activity license, which is free and fairly easy to get. And then we can walk you through, like, here's step-by-steps. We have all our Good Housing Partners thing.
Yep.
We have all kinds of documentation like that takes you exactly through the process. And we can certainly have those types of, not one-on-one, but like little seminar sessions, whatever you want to call them.
And so one of the things that these small pop-ups is, people don't necessarily, they come from elsewhere, right? They're not located right where they're selling their wares. So I just wanted to know, you mentioned doing something in a location. How do we invite them to come and be part of our economy in a way that is, welcoming and streamlined, as you just pointed out?
Yeah, we don't even have to do it location-based. We can put like a call out, like kind of like call to art. You know what I mean? When you get a call to art, we can do the same exact thing. Say, hey, we're going to have these 5 sessions, these certain nights of the week or whenever we're going to have it, different areas of the city, whoever wants to be involved. We can do virtual things. I mean, we are all in about the education, because that's the better part of our job. The enforcement's the part. You know what I mean? You'd rather educate and have people wanting to do business in the city and feel welcome here, like you just said. So we're all in. We can absolutely do that.
So we'll follow up with you to actually do a pilot project to do all across the city, inform people, amplify, have all my colleagues support us to make this happen, and then really do some results. Like, once you give this information, do people still is this still onerous or not? And what are people doing? We would like to get some data as to how to improve that process. And most importantly, get that revenue, so.
Sure, absolutely, yeah, we can totally do a pilot, and I'll hook up with Commerce, I'll talk to Karen and Salim and that crew, and we'll circle back and see what we come up with.
Thank you for being so cooperative, and let's work together.
Yeah,
Thank you,
of
Madam
course.
Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad. The chair now recognizes Dr. Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want the Water Department and LNI, you can stay in place. Thank you so much. Really quickly, as you know, we are moving forward on the implementation of the non-resident landlord accountability bill. The bill was structured to ensure that non-resident property owners provide accurate and verifiable contact information, in addition to designating a local agent. So the questions that I just have for you is, I want to thank you for some of your updates you provided, and I appreciate that. But we want to know, can you please clarify how owner contact information will be captured within Eclipse, what steps will be taken to verify the accuracy of the owner's contact information and not just the agent's, how that owner information will be utilized during enforcement actions, including notices of violation, intent to revoke, and other compliance measures. Okay, and then I also have to get this out. When a property has multiple unresolved violations, this is different from the non-landlord bill. When a property has multiple unresolved violations, at what point does that trigger consideration for more serious enforcement, like a sheriff's cell recommendation? Is there a defined threshold, for example, 40, 30, 60? How many violations do you have to take in order to trigger sheriff's cell, or is it just handled case by case? So that's 4 questions. Hope you all have them. And then for the water department, I just want to ask, what structural changes will the water department be making in the next year to improve customer service, communication, and resolution timelines? And also, what percentage of disruptions lasting more than 24 hours included proactive updates, and what type of updates were provided? Thank you. Ellen, I first. Thank you.
Do you want me to go first and you jump in?
After we spoke some time ago, Councilman, I got involved.
State your name for the record.
Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Basil Miranda, Commissioner L&I, Inspections, Safety, and Compliance. Excuse me. Council member, some time ago, after we chatted, I got involved in this legislation, and I can report that effective June 15th, landlords will be required to submit agent information, including the name, address, phone number, and email address, directly into Eclipse as part of the rental license process. If the landlord does not enter that information, a rental license won't be issued. Previously, for context, that information was provided to L&I as an upload, which would not lend itself to verifiable information. Now, because it's a required field in Eclipse, we can verify through OPA and revenue whether the agent's address is a legitimate Philadelphia address. And if it's not a legitimate Philadelphia address, for example, the license application will not be advanced at all, and it will not be issued as part of the application process right off the bat. So that's the front end. Now, the back end, as far as the other enforcement, I can turn that over to Bridget.
Thank you.
Sure. So as part of our proactive rental inspection program, this is a big piece of that. That administrative, I did mention it at the last hearing, the administrative piece. So if you're going to Basil's point, if you're going to put in an application for a rental license or renewal, you're going to get flagged if you do not put in this agency information. We can run reports off of that, and that will be one of the parts of the criteria for this PRIP program. So we'll be checking owner information, we'll be checking agent information if you're not, you're not a city, if you don't live outside the city, along with the other things, obviously, that we'll be inspecting for. So it will be caught in that, you know what I mean? It'll be caught up in that process.
The water department, and I did ask another question, but I have to get that on record.
Quickly for water.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the questions. Ben Jewell, Commissioner for the Philadelphia Water Department. So I believe the first question was structural changes to improve customer service. We are currently working through some review of our customer call center and staffing as it relates to both our call center, that is a shared responsibility of the Water Department and Water Revenue Bureau, as well as our after-hours call center staffing through our emergency support services. I've had a few conversations. Councilmember Gilmore Richardson last year and her staff brought to my attention some issues with our call center responsiveness, particularly during the evening hours. Over the winter, we instituted a software tracking program to allow us to collect additional data for the folks that are working in our emergency support services. We're going to be reviewing that data along with our call center data, and we've already started conversations about expanding hours, adding a second shift, and seasonal surge staffing. Much like we do on the operations side, but on the customer contact, that leading edge, that first touch point we get with our customers to be available to take a call, which is the most basic form of service, and then able to route those calls efficiently. The second question was,
Disruptions last.
before I get to the second question, I just want to add one other thing because Councilmember Phillips, I think you were part of this process that we initiated with Better Services PHL. So we're also in the process of working with the Better Services Group to map out some of our customer touch points in the field, both for planned and unplanned disruptions related to your second question. And that will include a review of all communications and an effort to identify places that we can step forwards. And we've discussed some of those with your office in our meetings, and we're looking forward to continuing those dialogues.
Thank you. I want to thank you for our now new relationship of communication. And I also want to thank Commissioner Basil and also Commissioner Jesus. Not Commissioner Jesus. Bridget Greenwald, Commissioner Bridget Greenwald.
We're going to pray
Man,
for you.
this position has my head all over the place now.
We're going to pray for Dr. Phillips. Thank you so much, Dr. Phillips. We're going to keep you in prayer today. Commissioner Greenwald received a little upgrade. Thank you. And thank you to our Commissioner Jewell from the Water Department for that process improvement relative to customer service with the Philadelphia Water Department. I did share with you that we were grateful and thankful for Michelle for being out with us last week in South Philadelphia at one of our senior centers, sharing information from the Water Department, and also Ms. Renee as well. But we're thankful for their continued work in partnership and for you always answering the call, but most particularly for that customer service process improvement that has taken place within your department. Thank you very much. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Landau.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I want to announce my topics because you're going to do a little shuffle. I have a BERT question and a wellness court question. I apologize that I couldn't be here this morning. I tried to listen to as much as I possibly could via my phone. So I believe these questions have not been asked yet. I'll start with BERT. First to Director DeBoe. When we first talked about rescinding the exemption on the BERT tax that assisted small businesses, I believe I asked you here on the record, and we are looking for this exact question and answer, how much you believed it would affect small businesses, and you said on average you thought it was approximately $750 per business. We've now heard from the businesses, and they are being hit with $1,500, $1,800, over $2,000 bills, and it's debilitating for them. I know that our colleague Mike Driscoll has introduced legislation that could ultimately help these small businesses, and I am fully in support of that and really hope it gets to a hearing soon. But I wanted to know whether the reality of what you're hearing now is worse, harder, and different than what you originally thought going in.
Yeah, and I do want to start by saying, and I know I've said this, but I feel the need to say it every time, this is not something we wanted to do. We felt that we had no choice. I think the reality is there are a variety of impacts depending on companies' receipts and on their income. And so, what they'll pay will wind up depending on a kind of number of factors. We knew that there were going to be impacts. That's why we set up programs to try to help companies, both grant programs, new ones and expanding old ones, and giving tax preparation help. And also treating businesses that hadn't paid for a few years like they're new businesses so that they could stage their payments. But we knew there would be impacts. We didn't want to do it. We tried to do as much as we could to ameliorate that.
Are the impacts that were being reported to the city worse than what was anticipated?
So I think for some companies, they're less than we anticipated. Some companies, they're worse.
So I want you, again, just so you know, hearing from small businesses, some of whom say they don't want to do it, but they might have to leave the city of Philadelphia. And I don't know if we calculated that cost into the cost of just taking a chance and seeing what the courts would ultimately say. I look forward to moving forward on colleague Driscoll's bill and seeing if we can find a fix.
Yep. And in the worst case, that cost could have been hundreds of millions of dollars. So we really did not think that was a risk worth taking. But I understand your question.
Thank you. Then for Managing Director Teal, I have a couple of quickies on the Wellness Court. If you didn't review them already this morning, or even if you did, sorry, looking for some more specific outcomes from the Wellness Court, whether or not people have found permanent housing if they've been placed, whether they've gotten full-time employment, and also some of the negative outcomes that have happened from stories that we've heard on the inside. Have there been overdoses on the inside, and have there been any deaths?
Councilmember Adam Teal, Managing Director, appreciate the questions. The Wellness Court is within the Office of Public Safety, which is not within the MDO. Have texted Director Gear, and I think we got all those questions. Our colleagues from Finance got all those questions, and we can have them respond to those in writing.
You can't answer the question if there's been any overdoses or even, sadly,
No,
very
ma'am.
tragically, any deaths.
OPS is a separate entity and is not managed in the MDO, so I don't have visibility on that or have those data. However, we've alerted the Office of Public Safety and Director Gear, and I know they'll be able to respond to those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Pardon me one moment. If possible, will we be able to receive that answer during this hearing? This is our last callback, which is why we're requesting.
Madam Chair, I have done what I can do. My expectation is probably that they're watching, and hopefully we can do that. It's not within my purview exactly.
Sure, it's the last callback, and so if we're able to receive a response from the Office of Public Safety, is someone here from the mayor's office who can contact the Office of Public Safety? Okay, great, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, this is our last callback, so I think we need to get it all in today. Thanks a lot, it's greatly appreciated. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Harity.
Thank you, Leader. My questions are for, in regards to the taxes. Regarding the retail tax, retail delivery tax, DoorDash cites Colorado experience with the similar delivery tax, 12.2 million in lost small business sales, 17.1 million in total economic loss, and 367 jobs eliminated. Has the administration modeled similar impacts for Philadelphia before projecting revenue from this tax? And according to DoorDash, in 2025, approximately 70% of delivery DoorDash facilitated in Philadelphia were to customers residing in low-income communities, as defined by the American Community Survey. What do you say to these customers who will disproportionately be affected by this tax?
So to answer your second question first, because that's the one I remember, when we look at the national survey data, what we see is that the number of orders goes up with income, so that the tax would not disproportionately affect lower income payers, but higher income payers who order many more packages, and we can get that information to you. We also have exempted a number of items to try to, make sure that things like baby products, medicine, food are not subject to the tax, to make sure that those items don't have an extra cost.
So you're saying that while everyone else is saying that Philadelphia is an outlier, and just like the Uber and Lyft, 58% of that comes from and to and from low-income neighborhoods. And now you're saying for DoorDash that even though the numbers say that 70% of the orders or the deliveries are coming to low-income areas, they're not going to low-income areas?
That is not, and like I said, we'll share the survey data we have with you, but the survey data that we have shows that as income goes up, orders go up. And we can definitely get you that.
Where did your data come from?
National Household Survey.
National Household Survey. Okay, and so how about the first part of the question with the loss of sales and the economic losses, especially the 367 jobs that Colorado experienced?
Yeah, we have like to see that analysis. We haven't seen that analysis. We did when we had meetings with delivery companies, ask them for any data. So if they have that, it would be great to see.
Oh, so they didn't send it to you?
They have not.
I'm
No.
sure they sent it to all of us, so that's, you know.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'm good. I heard the bell. I'll stay with that. All right. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Member Harity. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Gaudier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to all of you. My questions are for LNI.
I'm not hurt.
In the course of our day-to-day work, my office has stepped in many times to walk small prospective developers and landlords through the Eclipse process because they usually report being dismissed when they try to show up in person for help at MSB. And because the system itself is not very accessible for someone entering development for the very first time. Your FY27 budget includes funding for enhanced Eclipse reporting, and ISC's goals in particular mention a residential permitting modernization project. But neither of these addresses the frontline customer service problem for people kind of just getting into development and their interactions with Eclipse. And so will the department commit to retraining staff specifically on how to assist first-time users through Eclipse in person? And will you commit to hosting a usability session or a focus group with small developers, first-time landlords, and residents before the modernization project is finalized? We would love to participate in something like this because we see a great need for it.
Sure. I almost forgot again. Basil Miranda, Commissioner LNI, Inspections, Safety, and Compliance. Absolutely, Council Member. We can certainly work with you to set those educational processes up. It's all part of Mayor Parker's making city government you could see, touch, and feel. So that is exactly what we were more than willing to do. In the meantime, we have this chat feature that could help new landlords or landlords that are not like computer savvy to work through that and get direct information. Also, we have Lisa Adams, who's our city council liaison,
She's
who's
amazing.
very accessible. And then if all else fails, you can contact me.
Okay, thank you for your willingness. And so you're saying, do you have the resources in your budget to do more in-person assistance and to set up these types of training as more than a one-time thing, as kind of an offering for folks who are trying to interface with this system on a regular basis?
I would just ask that we could give us a little time to do a little digging to see exactly what we have and what we can do.
Okay.
But I appreciate that.
We would love to follow up with you about this and to participate.
Sure.
Am I done?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
You have another question?
Okay, yeah, sorry. My next questions are about inspections and violation tracking. When a violation is issued, the property owner gets 30 days to correct it. After that, my office and constituents really have no way of knowing whether a follow-up inspection has occurred, whether fines have escalated, or where the case stands unless we call. So the question is there a way to add an update to the initial violation notice showing the most recent inspection date, the current compliance status, and any updated deadlines or fine amounts? And what would it take to build that into Atlas? And is that something that the department would commit to exploring? So this is just about helping us to be more up to date about violations as we're trying to help our residents with quality of life concerns.
Is that in the context of a property maintenance issue whereby the violation is issued because the property is not being maintained as opposed to construction? Well, that's.
I mean, you know, maybe,
I
I think we're mostly talking about the former, but maybe globally.
I think for you want to know violations, how
Yes.
people can see updates, right? Where
Yes.
it stands. So I think, so in our Atlas system, as you said, when you go out on an initial inspection, it'll show up in the system, and then you can pull the actual violations up now. You're probably familiar with that, right? The actual violations come up now. So the updated violations come out now as well. So you do have to go into Atlas to see it, but it is, you know what I mean? It is seeable.
I have to profess that I am not the one generally checking Atlas, so this comes from my staff. I would love to follow up with you just about what they're seeing on their side and making sure that we have the most up-to-date information in a way that will help us to better inform our constituents.
Sure, Atlas is a great tool. It really does. It has excellent information, very up to date. It's processed right there. So you definitely will see the latest violations, what they are, and then actually you can see the violation notices itself with all the dates on them.
Okay, look forward to talking more. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Gaudier. And I wanted to concur relative to Lisa Adams. She has been stellar, has gone above and beyond the call of duty, including calling constituents while she has been on vacation on the weekends, which I do not recommend. But she has been awesome and amazing. So thank you, Lisa Adams, for working with Beth on my team on the variety of constituent cases that we receive in our office. And I wanted to mention relative to Atlas, I was just on Atlas this morning around 6 o'clock, and what I do like, the new feature wherein you could see some of the 311 complaints that have come in that area. So it's not just particular violations on that home, but also some of the 311 calls that we receive in that local community. I do like that new feature on Atlas. So please follow up with Councilmember Gaudier's office and her team. I wanted to quickly go back to the managing director's office relative to the question around the warehouse. And I did receive this question when I was out in the community relative to the tax bills. Will nonprofits, and I'll use a church as an example, that lease out roof space to cell phone or cell providers now have to collect and remit UNO tax? And then if you all could just explain how the cell towers will be assessed.
Madam Chair, Adam Teal, Managing Director, I'll take the first question. And again, just to reiterate, we apologize. We missed that in our tracking. You did ask that well before this hearing, so thank you for that. And this is around the $1 million cost. That is essentially, it's a contingency for 2026 operations, especially the peak period. We could potentially have need for additional space that's not available. For instance, if we needed to, if we did, and I'll knock wood here, if we did have something happen, if we were to have to stand up a joint operations center or a joint information center with a host of partners, those end up being huge operations, as well as so it's characterized as warehousing space. It's essentially, it's space where we can set up whatever we need, and it is a contingency. Or if we do have to bring in commodities on short notice because we overperform our already high expectations for the company that's coming during that period of time. So it's a contingency. What we will absolutely commit to is if we don't need it and we don't use it, then we will let you know that.
Okay, I appreciate that response. I think we'll need to follow up on that because I was trying to look through the detail, the budget detail to track the 1 million. And I'm not sure whether it's related to DPP, other contracting that's already shown in the detail under DPP that's around almost 800,000 or so. But that said, it was relative to Riverview, so I'm not sure if this is just an extra contract or in addition to that, or does that mirror or match in some kind of way?
It's contingency space it could be for a lot of different things. The main reason is potentially around 2026. And
It's
it is
2026. Okay, I'll make sure I'll
readiness for
follow up.
2026.
Okay, I'll make sure I follow with the detail that I'm specifically referring to so that we can ensure we're on the same page, okay? And then the question relative to UNO.
Good afternoon, Kathleen McColgan, Revenue Commissioner. I appreciate the question. Councilmember Driscoll asked a similar question earlier, and there's something that I wanted to clarify in my response. So what I said was that nonprofits would be responsible, but actually the owner of a property is responsible for making sure that the use and occupancy from the tenant is collected and remitted. So, for example, if there's a telecommunication agency that's renting or leasing the space with the cell tower, they are actually the one that's charged for use and occupancy. So it's the property owner's responsibility, whether it's a nonprofit or not, to make sure that the tenant that they're remitting either on the tenant's behalf or that they set up an account on behalf of the tenant so that we can hold the tenant responsible.
So as an example, if I'm, said church, we lease space to this communication agency, we would then have to set up a separate account for them to remit the tax in order for it to be collected.
Yes, so the typical model would be that the church would have a use and occupancy tax account that in which they remit the tax on behalf of the tenant. But alternatively, they can have a tenant account set up for the telecommunications company.
Okay.
And then we would hold the telecommunication company responsible.
Receive. So they can also set up a tenant account wherein they have to do it directly with
That's
the city.
right. Yes.
Okay. And then how will they be assessed?
So right now, we receive the assessed value of a cell tower right now in the complete property assessed value from OPA. But we would work with OPA to ensure that we get the value of the cell tower broken out as a separate line item so that we can tax that based on the actual assessed value of that cell tower rather than square footage of the entire property.
Receive, because it could be a larger location, as an example. Okay. Okay. All right, I will submit the balance of my questions in writing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do want to get this one on the record. We were in South Philadelphia, I mentioned, relative to the water department. And I had a constituent come up to me, a senior from South Philly, who stated that she is receiving her monthly payment coupons for property tax 3 days prior to the bill being due. So she's on a monthly payment plan for her property taxes. She received the coupon 3 days before each month. So at the point that she remits the payment, it's always late and there was a lien placed on her property as a result. She pays every month. She said it was $220. She pays every month, but because of the timing of when she receives the coupon, she's not able to remit until that time, and so now she has accumulated late fees, and she said at one point a lien. So I wanted to put that on the record, not for response, because I did send her case directly to your team, who was already on site. But it's an issue that my constituent services director has said has come up multiple times throughout this particular year. So I don't know if it's been a change in vendor or if the process has changed with the monthly coupons being mailed out, or if it's just a mail issue. But I think that's something that we need to look into, because she was a senior. She said, I can't come downtown, but I really need help with this issue.
Yeah, I appreciate it, you bringing that to our attention. We are investigating that. There hasn't been a change in vendor, but that was the first that I had heard that complaint. And of course, we want to make sure that we get those coupons out timely. So we're in the middle of investigating that.
Okay, that'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Are there any additional questions for these witnesses or for the departmental callbacks? And then, is our Public Safety Director, Director Gear, able to join us?
Madam Chair, he's here. I think we'll
Excellent.
get him in
Okay,
from
great.
out in the hallway.
He'll be our last witness for the departmental callbacks, and then colleagues, you all can get into the queue for Community College of Philadelphia. I'll recognize Councilmember Landau first for questions for Director Gear, and then you all can get into the queue for CCP. Thank you. And as a reminder, we do have a town hall this evening. Thank you so much, Director Gear. We certainly appreciate your availability for this departmental callback hearing. Councilmember Landau had a question for your team. And so again, we thank you for your availability and for coming over today. We certainly appreciate you very much.
Of course.
The chair now recognizes Councilmember Landau.
Yes, thank you, Director Gear. I know you didn't expect to be here. Appreciate you so very much. I had asked Managing Director Teal a little bit more about the Riverview Wellness Village, and I wanted to know more about the outcomes of the residents there, whether or not we can quantify how many people have been moved into permanent housing, how many people have had received full-time employment, and also some of the negative outcomes, like unfortunately, how many overdoses have occurred inside the village, and also whether or not there's been, very sadly, any deaths there as a result.
Thank you, Councilmember. Majority Leader, good afternoon. Good afternoon, esteemed council members. I was able to bring the numbers that we have. Some of this we have shared before, and I'm hoping that this will suffice for today. If not, we will certainly circle back with those numbers. Sure.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Adam Teal, Managing Director. Councilmember, I apologize. When we heard your question the first time, it was around the wellness court, and that is Office of Public Safety. Now that you've asked the questions, it was about Riverview. Riverview and the wellness court are not the same.
Right.
And so I want to
Apologize if I
to you and
misspoke.
colleagues for that.
Yes.
The good news is we have all the right people here to answer any questions you might have about that continuum of care, and I'm going to give up my seat for Deputy Managing Director Crystal Yates-Gale and let Director
Managing
Gear.
Director Teal, I appreciate that. I've been working a lot with other things with the courts, and I may have accidentally said court instead of village. Apologies.
May I step back momentarily, and I'll be on standby.
Sure.
Thank you, Majority.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Council Member Crystal Yates-Gale, Deputy Managing Director, Health and Human Services. So the good news is nobody has died of an overdose at Riverview Wellness Village. Unfortunately, we did have a death, not overdose related. You know from doing work in the population that it's a fragile population. So we did have a death. It was cardiac related from a previous cardiac history. As far as the number of overdoses that have been reported to me are, you know, I'm always trying to be mindful of people's privacy, but they are less than 11 in the time that we've been open there, and they've all been successfully reversed. The number of people with employment, we don't track some of the employment that people get on their own, but proud and happy to report. I hope Director Isabel McDevitt is watching. The food service provider on site has hired 10 people full-time. Some of those people have started to be connected to permanent housing and will maintain their employment when they move. We've also connected people to other employment, and then some of the residents have gotten employment on their own. I forgot the last question.
Was the housing?
Permanent housing. I don't have the exact number, but we have used a significant number of our wellness vouchers, not as many as we'd like to, but I don't want to guess, but we have been issuing wellness vouchers to residents there. So there has been people that have gone through the whole continuum.
Great. Can you get us some more concrete numbers? I appreciate so much that the work that you've
Sure.
done. I appreciate
It
this
would
very
be
much.
easier to give privately, and we'll send it in
Yes.
an email to Council
Thank
President's
you,
office.
and thank you, Director Gear.
Thank you. So do we need Director Gear, Councilmember Landau?
Yes, I'm good.
Are you good? Okay, well,
Yes.
thank you, Director Gear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Are there any additional questions for this departmental callback? Okay, seeing none, we will now proceed with our presentation from the Community College of Philadelphia. We'd like to welcome Dr. Alicia Marshall, our president, and also present Jacob Epen, Vice President for Business and Finance. And as they are approaching the witness table, we'd like to thank again Dr. Alicia Marshall, Danielle Watkins, your Chief of Staff, Erica Harrison. Thank you, Erica Harrison, from Community Relations for all of your help in coordinating all of our events. And then also to Malika Rahman, CCP Criminal Justice Department, for coordinating interns specifically in my office. And I wanted to mention Raina Chambliss, who works at CCP. She shared with us this week in a very special moment from the CCP graduation, and also all of the union members who are here from Community College of Philadelphia, C. Marissa and others. We thank you and we appreciate you all for being here as well. So please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Alicia Marshall. I am the president at the Community College of Philadelphia. I'm joined here today by our Associate Vice President for Budgets and Business Services, Derek Sawyer. First of all, I want to say thank you to the entire City Council for your support, your investment in the city's college, and many of you have been to our locations and have supported our events and expressed support for us and our students and our programming. So I want to start off by saying sincerely thank you to all of you. What I'm about to share are some of the highlights and success stories of what's been happening in real time at the city's college. And I want to underscore that all of those successes, most of them are a testament to your support and your investment in our college. The first picture here I want to point out is Don Vale Wilson. He is a valedictorian and the graduate of our inaugural naval welding program at our Career and Advanced Technology Center in West Philadelphia. And I want to sincerely thank Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson for being there and speaking at that event. It was a wonderful event. But this is an example of success. Don Vale was a career changer. He was a barber, and in 4.5 months, he graduated from our naval welding program and is actually working at Hanwha now. So we want to talk about how the Community College of Philadelphia is really an economic engine of mobility and creates pathways for success and upward mobility in the city.
And his speech was fantastic, by the way.
Yes. Just to give you a glance at our institution, particularly at this moment in time as we celebrate 60 years this year at the Community College of Philadelphia, 60 years of transforming lives of almost 800,000 students. I want to quantify that for you. We are the highest enrolled community college in the Commonwealth out of all 15 community colleges. We service 21,000 students, credit and non-credit. About 18,000 of those students are in our credit programs. We have almost 4,000 students in our non-credit programs, and we really are representing the entire city. We are a minority-serving institution. 67% of our students identify as being a student of color or minority student. And we also have 1,700 students, closer to 2,000, depending on the year, are partaking in dual enrollment opportunities. So about 10% of our credit population are dual enrollment students. Those are students who are in high school and at the same time taking college courses with us. I want to underscore, since we're coming off of graduation, last Saturday we were pleased to graduate 1,968 students at our graduation. And 122 of those students actually were also in high school. So they are receiving their associate's degree before they get their high school diploma. So yes, that speaks to impact and really exposing students to college early on. I have to share and brag on my institution and my faculty and staff. This year, we were pleased to be nationally recognized in many ways, and I'll mention a few of those. In February, we became the only community college in Pennsylvania to receive the 2026 Community Engagement Classification from the American Council on Education and the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. This prestigious classification recognizes colleges and universities that demonstrate institutionalized, reciprocal, and measurable community engagement, which is the standard that CCP has met through decades of intentional, partnership-driven work. We also received the 25-26 Military Friendly School Silver designation from Victory, celebrating our holistic support of our veteran students through our Veterans Resource Center. And last May, we celebrated not one, but 2 Jack Kent Cooke Scholars from our graduating class. The Jack Kent Cooke Scholarship is a very prestigious scholarship awarded for students that are high achieving, and it allows them the opportunity to receive $55,000 annually for up to 3 years towards pursuit of their bachelor's degree. This year, we have 5 semifinalists. We're still waiting to hear, but we hope that we will have a scholar for this year as well, maybe 2. Lastly, I want to highlight our civic engagement work as well. We did receive a voter-friendly campus designation through a partnership between Fair Election Center's Campus Vote Project and NASPA's LEAD initiative, and a 2026 All-In Action Plan seal from the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge for developing a nonpartisan Democratic Engagement Action Plan under our hashtag CCP Votes programming. So I want to, before I move on to the next slide, just want to thank the entire faculty and staff, because without them, all of these awards and recognition is really part of their effort. So I want to thank them for that. I want to talk a little bit about CCP as an engine of economic mobility. A few months ago, we worked with eConsult to create an economic impact report. As a result of that report, we found that the Community College of Philadelphia is generating $1 billion worth of annual economic activity in the city. Not just in the city, but in the Commonwealth. $882 million of that are actually in the city of Philadelphia and Philadelphia's economy. This includes $30 million of local and state tax revenues. I also want to underscore something that you all probably know. 98% of our students who graduate from the Community College of Philadelphia remain here in the city of Philadelphia. So in addition to our economic activity that we're generating just by being here, just by operating, we also have graduates that are spending and staying here, and that contributes to the city's economy as well. I want to underscore our footprint. We hire and we support 1,600 employees. We have 327 full-time faculty and 708 part-time, along with 300 administrators and a range of classified and support staff. Next slide. Economic impact goes beyond just a spend, just a footprint. I want to talk about individual impact. For every dollar that a student invests in the Community College of Philadelphia, they receive $5.90 towards lifelong earnings. $1 to $5.90. If you think about taxpayers' input, they are doubling. For every $1 that a taxpayer pays, they are receiving $2 on their investment. So we talk a little bit about return on investment for the city's college. Next slide. I think that some of the efforts that we move towards and that we're trying to build on and expand are our transfer partnerships and pathways. We have students that are working towards bachelor's degree attainment, and if you think about economic mobility, I want to underscore savings. for starting with the Community College of Philadelphia. So in addition to increasing your earning potential, as we know, a bachelor's degree recipient is going to make $30,000 more annually than a high school diploma. I'm looking here and sharing with you what is the benefit in terms of savings and how much they're going to pay for that bachelor's degree. If a student starts with us, for example, at Temple University, which is one of our top transfer institutions, they are saving $50,000 over the course of earning that bachelor's degree. Our second top transfer institution is Drexel University, and we are looking at a savings of $142,000 over the journey towards that bachelor's degree attainment. Community College of Philadelphia has transfer and articulation agreements with all of these institutions that are listed here. We are building and expanding that, and we're also launching our Cheney at CCP program this fall. It is an opportunity to bring access to bachelor's degree attainment right on CCP's campus. We know that many of our students have transportation issues, so being able to actually bring the classes towards the bachelor's degree from Cheney University to the city of Philadelphia is really going to be a great opportunity for our students. And we are launching that pathway in the fall with business and education as the two areas of degree pathway. Next slide. I mentioned that CCP is the highest enrolled community college in the Commonwealth. So I wanted to underscore that for you and show you those bars are CCP in terms of our credit enrollment. But you can see there that we are surpassing our sister colleges within the Commonwealth. That is the orange line underneath that. And then the top line represents enrollment nationally at community colleges. So we are also inching towards getting to that national average for our enrollment as well. This underscores the fact that CCP is the first choice for many in the city of Philadelphia. So we're excited about our growth, and we are anticipating continued growth. Right now, we are 5% up year over year for our enrollment, and we anticipate that growth to continue. It's not just about bringing students into the college. We are increasing enrollment, but I want to underscore that we are also producing graduates, and our graduation rate has gone up by 8% since 2022 when I joined the college. And part of this is based on the support and the high-quality teaching, innovative teaching, and the support services that we wrap around our students that contribute to increased graduation rates. So it's not just about bringing more students and giving them access to education, it's providing opportunities for success, and that's indicated here. We anticipate our graduation rates to continue to climb. I want to talk a little bit about our Career and Advanced Technology Center. Many of you have been there. It's located in West Philadelphia. I know Councilmember Gaudier has been there. We thank you for your support there. This is really our state-of-the-art building. If you haven't seen it, 2022 is when we opened that building, but this is where we do a lot of our short-term training programs, as I mentioned, the naval welding program, but we also have a very strong automotive technology program. I want to highlight the Toyota T10 program because that's an opportunity for students to earn and learn. So they're actually working in the dealerships while they're earning their associate's degree, and we consider that an opportunity for experiential learning and work-based learning, which we're trying to expand through our programs. We want to prepare students for careers, so that is what we're trying to do. I want to mention, as we go to the next slide, the maritime industry and how CCP is really becoming a player in that space. As I mentioned before, we were fortunate to receive a $2.7 million investment from the U.S. Navy to build out and start up 2 new programs, naval welding and non-destructive testing. We graduated our first cohort, and you saw the picture of Don Vale on my first slide, of 22 students. In March, we were pleased to have Councilmember Gilmore Richardson there, as well as Mayor Parker, and we cut the ribbon on our new naval welding lab that really trains students to work on shipbuilding, right? Specific to Navy specification. That is at our Career and Advanced Technology Center. We're excited about that opportunity, and I want to underscore that we are continuing to build and expand programs that align with high priority occupations such as naval welding. We are also building on our industrial maintenance program, CNC programs, NDT, all of this is going to be part of preparing students for not just jobs, but careers. And I want to highlight one piece, the non-destructive testing program, 4.5 months of training at this location. Students graduate and they can start earning $77,000 a year. This is truly life-changing, not just individuals, but families and the community and city of Philadelphia. So we're pleased to continue to provide this type of high-quality training. I want to thank Councilmember Dr. Nina Ahmad for being with us for the ribbon-cutting ceremony for our healthcare simulation lab in February. This is a state-of-the-art facility at our main campus location where we were able to provide high-quality facilities, imitating the hospital setting. We have state-of-the-art real-life mannequins who have bodily fluids. They are real-life mannequins, but they allow the opportunity for our students to practice and learn in a simulated setting, and they can do this on almost humans, not real humans, which I would prefer, and I think you do too. Great opportunity for our students. It was a result of a Perkins grant, so we did receive funding to build this out, a federal funded grant through the state. And we are offering support for our nursing program through this, but we're also moving towards interdisciplinary support throughout our healthcare programs. I want to take a minute to basically celebrate our 122 nursing graduates that graduated with us this week as well. Last week we had our pinning ceremony for them, and I want to highlight that our nursing program is identified as a center of excellence by the National League for Nursing. They also have 100% pass rate on the NCLEX exam, so we are very proud of our nursing program. I want to make sure that I share that nursing is not the only healthcare program we have. We also have respiratory care technology. It's similarly best in class, like our nursing program. We have health service management, public health, diagnostic medical imaging, behavioral health, and human services, in addition to our shorter-term non-credit pathways such as clinical medical assisting, pharmacy technician, and nurse aide. What we are doing is building non-credit to credit pathways through a lot of this programming so students can start in one program, they can get work, and then they can transition to another as well. I want to underscore our partnership with the city and providing programming to support careers and to really connect city residents with increased living wages. The City College for Municipal Employment has had over 400 participants in that program to date through our partnership with the city. 80 have completed. Those are those that are in the traditional and upskilling programs. We also have a total of 200 completions with the partnership through the City College for Municipal Employment. That includes our high school as well as our civic entrepreneurship programs. We are pleased to continue to build up programming in response to city needs and regional needs, and we're looking forward to expanding and growing through the City College for Municipal Employment. I mentioned our 122 dual enrollment graduates this past Saturday. 10% of our CCP student population are dually enrolled. Part of our efforts moving forward is to expand that. What we recognize and acknowledge is that we're not in all areas of the city as we could be, and that there are opportunities that we want to connect young people to in terms of early college, and we want to be strategic and do that in a way that touches all areas of the city. So working with the School District of Philadelphia, we are pleased to expand our dual enrollment starting this summer. We're expanding our ACE program. Our ACE program allows students as early as 9th grade to take advantage of college classes on our campus and be in a class all by themselves. So we worked with the school district to identify which schools will benefit from this on the first pass, and we're excited to launch this summer. I also need to mention the Octavius Catto Scholarship Program. Many of you are familiar with that. Thank you for the city's investment for the Catto Scholars Program. Last dollar scholarship to date, the Catto Scholarship Program has serviced over 4,000 low-income residents of the city of Philadelphia. We service 2,000 students annually through the Cato Scholarship Program. And as you may know, because of the additional wraparound student support services, our Cato students are graduating at almost double the rate of our traditional student population. So that is thankful to your investment from the city for the Cato Scholarship Program, which we want to continue to emphasize and support. All right. So the Community College of Philadelphia is also part of the solution. We want to work to being part of the solution to addressing the teacher shortage. So I want to highlight a few of our programs that are geared towards this. With support and working directly with the Mayor's Office of Education, we are working on the Philo Cato Teacher Scholars Program that allows Cato graduates to transfer seamlessly through those institutions that you see listed there: Holy Family, LaSalle, Temple, and Arcadia, as long as they're interested in pursuing a career in education. So we want to create that pathway. As I mentioned, our Cato graduates are always high-achieving students, so this is a wonderful pathway for them, as well as a way to get them interested in education and teaching. I mentioned the Cheney at CCP. We're looking to launch that with 30 participants in the fall. That will also be an education pathway. We are launching 2 pathways in the fall: education and business. But the education pathway will obviously help prepare students. They will go seamlessly to Cheney University and earn their bachelor's degree and pursue education and teaching as a career. And then lastly, I'll mention the para pathway. That is a collaboration with the School District of Philadelphia. Paraprofessionals, we're training them. They're completing their associate's degree with us so they can go on and possibly become a teacher. We see this as a critical need for the city as well as the region, and we want to continue to support teacher education. So, yeah, we're almost at the end. So I just want to underscore some of the points that I made. The Community College of Philadelphia is really an economic engine of mobility for the city, and we can't do that without your support, so we appreciate that. Also want to just underscore the importance and the impact that we are making in real time as we are increasing our number of graduates, our graduation rate, as well as expanding our programming to align with regional and city workforce needs. And I want to just end on how CCP has been impacting over 750,000 lives for over 60 years as we come into our 60th year. We want to do this into the future. We are growing and we are creating opportunities for upward mobility. And I want to have an end point. I have a student here that I think is the best representation. I can tell you how great Community College of Philadelphia is, but the best representation of that is one of our recent graduates. So I have Daniel Emden, who is here with us today. He graduated on Saturday. He graduated on Saturday. Daniel is also our Student Government Association president. He is also our student board member. He was with me yesterday in Harrisburg representing Community College of Philadelphia and helping us advocate for more money on the state level. And I want to let him have the opportunity to talk about his experience at CCP.
All right, thank you for the introduction, Dr. Marshall. All right, good afternoon, Council President Johnson, esteemed council members, CCP family, and honored guests. My name is Daniel Emden. I am a proud CCP graduate, class of 2026, as of past Saturday, and I also had the honor of serving as the student body president for the 2025-2026 academic school year. Now, not too long ago, I didn't believe higher education was for me. Like many students in the city of Philadelphia, I saw college as something that was out of reach, too expensive, too uncertain, and simply not built for people like me. That changed when my older brother learned about the Octavius Cato Scholarship and encouraged us to apply. That opportunity didn't only make college affordable, it made it possible. For my family, CCP was more than a school, it was home. My brother attended first, he graduated debt-free and is now finishing up his bachelor's at Holy Family University on the verge of applying to medical school to become a doctor. I then attended and graduated recently, and today my mother is also continuing that journey as a Cato scholar. When I arrived at CCP, I originally intended to become a scientist, but through the mentorship, opportunities, and support that I found there at CCP, my vision expanded. I began to see a path as a physician policymaker where I hope to continue to be of service to my community, being able to serve individual patients as well as shape systems for marginalized communities. Serving as student body president was a defining part of that journey. It gave me the responsibility to advocate for my peers and to understand the real challenges students face every single day, from affordability to access to opportunity. In fact, yesterday I had the opportunity to be in Harrisburg, where I spent the entire day speaking with state representatives, senators, and legislative leaders, simply sharing my experience as a CCP student. I was especially grateful for the time and support shown by Representative Jordan Harris, Senator Vincent Hughes, and Speaker Joanna McClinton. Their willingness to listen reinforced something powerful, that student voices matter, and that leadership at every level is invested in our success here in the city. CCP paved the way with more than access. It gave me a direction and a platform. Because of that foundation, I was one of the 5 semifinalists for the Jack Kent Cooke Undergraduate Transfer Scholarship, which is, as you all know, is one of the most competitive scholarships in the nation. And that allows me to attend any 4 institution debt-free. I was also accepted into several top universities, including Rice University, which also offered me a full ride scholarship to continue my education at the 4-year level. None of that started at an elite institution. It started right here at the Community College of Philadelphia. That is the impact of CCP. It takes students who may not yet see a future for themselves and equips them with the tools, confidence, and support to succeed at the highest levels. And I stand here not just for myself, but for the thousands of students I had the privilege to represent. Students with the same potential who simply need the same opportunity. Your support makes that possible. It is not simply funding an institution, it is investing in people, in families like mine, and in the future of Philadelphia. I am a direct result of that investment, and I hope you will continue to support CCP so that many more students can follow this path. Thank you for your time and your commitment.
Great job, young man. Continue to keep up the good work, Mr. President.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to get ready to prepare for questions from members of the committee, and I just want to take a moment to thank Dr. Marshall for laying out your vision. It's great seeing you going from interim to actually now being the person who is charting the community college into the next level. And so, great presentation. And I'm going to also thank Derek Sawyer, who most of us work with his dad, former fire commissioner Derek Sawyer. And so always good to see you doing the good work as well. He's all part of that D9, fraternity, your sorority, and all that good stuff, supporting our young people. Just a couple questions, Dr. Marshall. I know last year that the board raised tuition by 9.4%, which will be implemented in the fall of 2026. And so give us an idea of, actually, as we deal with the issue of affordability, right? The rent's too high. We're addressing issues around child care, transportation, right? We want to also encourage and invest our young people to get a quality education. So give us an idea regarding the strategies and analysis of the impact that you thought the tuition may have on the student body, but also the strategies kind of mitigate it as much as possible. And then also I would like to get an idea of the amount of funding that comes from the state and also the amount of funding that comes from private donors and philanthropy.
So the most impact that we expect to have is on students that really aren't, taking advantage of financial aid and scholarships and those things. So majority of our students, 75% of our students have some type of financial need situation in terms of homelessness, housing insecurity, or food insecurity. And so we're hoping that it's not going to really impact them as much. This is the first time the college has raised tuition in 9 years. We are the highest enrolled community college in the Commonwealth. And even though we are the highest enrolled community college in the Commonwealth, we do not get the highest allocation from the state for our budget. If you add on top of that, what is our student demographic? And as I mentioned, 75% of our students have some type of need, right? We also have to service that need. So our demographic is more vulnerable, and that requires us to provide more wraparound support services, particularly if you look at other institutions that we're being supported through the consortium, the community college, all of the other, our peer institutions in the Commonwealth. So I feel like we're in a unique position. We did not want to raise tuition, obviously, but at the same time, as expenses are going up, as enrollment is going up, we have to do something. We're drawing down our reserves. So this was what we decided on. It is a $15 per credit hour increase. We're also working with our fundraising and our foundation to increase that. The private donors, the scholarships are a significant aspect of that, and a lot of that comes through our private funding. So we're hoping to mitigate some of that as we support them in other ways. But I'll ask Derek to talk a little bit specifics about the numbers in the state. And we were in Harrisburg yesterday, so we are working on the state piece of it because that is a big part.
Thank you, Council President, Dr. Marshall. So from the state, we are currently receiving around $36 million from the state.
Do you know how much Montgomery County Community College receives?
Yes, I do. Montgomery County Community College receives $22.7 million from the state for operating.
And from the city of Philadelphia, right, you're getting $55.9 million for FY27. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said Montgomery County receives how much?
They're receiving $22.7 million from
2.7.
the state. Yep.
And how much are we receiving, Philadelphia?
We receive $36 million.
36 million. Is there a point of information? Councilmember Dr. Nina Ahmed?
I was just going to say, if those numbers can be given per population, then we would have a fairer assessment of that investment made by state in Montgomery and here.
Could you provide that information to the chair?
Population for each county?
Chair recognizes Councilman Dr. Nina Ahmed. Just clarify your line of questioning, please.
So the
for point of
question
information.
was clarification on the numbers the Council President asked about how much the state gives to CCP versus Montco. I just wanted it divided by your student body,
I understand, yes.
just to see the level of investment.
We'll follow up on that, particularly when we don't have the data for each community college on that level, but we do have the allocations per state.
Okay. Are there any other universities as well we're comparing ourselves to in terms of level of investment?
We compare ourselves to the 15 community colleges, our peer institutions.
Could you provide that information to me as well, just
yes.
to provide to the members? Just from a supportive standpoint, this also allows us, when we advocate with you, in terms of our partners that we work with on the state level, it allows us to also kind of crystallize the need. And so I understand now the investment per population, because obviously the population of Montgomery County is much, much smaller than the population in the city of Philadelphia. And so I clearly understand the line of questioning now.
Correct. And the state also funds the PASHE schools, which is like the Westchester.
I'm a graduate of Mansfield University, proud Mansfield alumni, yes.
And the state-related Temple, Lincoln.
All four of them, state-related, Temple, Penn State, Cheney, and there's one more.
Yep.
But yes, okay.
This is the second year in a row that we were flat funded by the state as part of the community colleges. So,
See, that's
it's
good
struggling.
information to know.
We're struggling. And what I tried to communicate in Harrisburg yesterday is that, as the largest enrolled community college, when we're flat funded, flat funded is not great when you have inflation and all that anyway. But in addition to that, we're really struggling when we.
So here's what I would like to do before I turn them to my members. Mr. President, young man, come on up to the table again. 'Cause he said he had a good time with three individuals I have a very strong working relationship with that can really have an impact on this flat-footed funding that has been taking place. You said you had a good time with a young man named Jordan Harris, the Appropriations Chairman. I am a former state representative in the General Assembly of Pennsylvania. He's the individual who succeeded me. I call him my little brother, but he is the chairman of Appropriations, which appropriates the funds. And so I want you to tell him that you came to City Council today advocating, seeking additional support for CCP. You're a recent graduate. And the fact that they're flat-footing funding for CCP is unacceptable, and it'd be great if they could work toward this budget cycle to increase what is an iconic institution, but most important institution that can invest heavily in our young people here in the city of Philadelphia. And then I also want you to follow up and talk to Speaker Joanna McClinton, who's also the Speaker of the House and the young lady I work with as well, and also reiterate that you came to City Council and also had a conversation with us about the need to invest in CCP as a former student, and now you're an alumni. But as your last charge as class president is to push the needle as it relates to investing in high quality education, secondary education, which starts at CCP. So continue to keep up the good work, but also I'm very serious when I ask for you to follow up and do your due diligence and say, hey, I just understood that from City Council hearing that we've been flat-footed, and it would be great that we can increase the level of funding beyond what's been allotted thus far. Keep up the good work.
For sure. Thank you for that. I'll get it done by end of this.
I want you to report back to me. And, this is my chief of staff, John Christmas, and so get his business card. He'll give you my card, and get back to me and let me know how those conversations go.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Marshall and Mr. Derek Sawyer, I'm going to turn the microphone over to my members, but in all seriousness, we recognize that in order for us to really continue to drive down the gun violence that we're seeing here in the city of Philadelphia, we had a historical 60-year low when it comes to homicides and shooting. That comes from investing in our young people, right? Giving them opportunities to get involved in things that are positive as opposed to things that are negative. I enjoy being a city council president, but most importantly, I represent the 2nd Councilmanic District. So I'm very, very aware of the partnership with Hanwha, which is located in the Philadelphia Navy Yard, Rhodes Industries, which is also located in the Philadelphia Navy Yard, which resides in my district. And we need to continue those types of partnerships to provide individuals, particularly young people, an opportunity to get involved in things that are positive, but also a way to build generational wealth and drive down poverty, right? And it starts with investments. And so I honestly think that for CCP to be flat-footed, right, is totally unacceptable. Now, I work with my colleagues in the State House, but nevertheless, we have too much power up there from the city of Philadelphia where we're flat-footing CCP. And so I will also work with my team to also do some advocacy as well to see if they will be willing to be supportive. We're doing our part with $55 million, and so surely they can do more. Chair recognizes Councilman Jamie Gaultier.
Thank you, Council President. Hi, Dr. Marshall. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for the presentation and all of the great work that you're doing at CCP. So I walked in on the conversation around flat funding, but I wanted to go, flat funding by the state, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. I have heard that CCP has had to raise its tuition by 9.5% this year. Can you talk about what that means for the population of students that you're serving? And do you know in the past when we've had to have that kind of increase, how has that impacted enrollment? Did you already talk about this? If so, then I can move on and grab it later.
So, yeah, I'll just say that it's the first time we've had to raise tuition in 9 years. Our enrollment is booming right now. Again, we're hoping that we can mitigate the difference by supporting our students with scholarships and additional basic needs support. We've been fortunate to have donors who invest in that, and we're trying to leverage that and make sure that we communicate to those folks that really can help us so that we can continue to support our students in other ways so they won't feel that. A lot of our students also participate and take advantage of financial aid, so we're hoping that they won't necessarily feel this as much as the typical student that's actually writing the check. But, you know, we hated to do this, but this was something that we had to do based on inflation and costs rising.
And I know you're newer to the institution, but do you have any information on, have we had even similar increases in the past, and what impact has that had on the population?
I believe it was $14, $15 when we did the last increase, but it wasn't $15. It was less than that.
And what was that impact?
On enrollment?
Did you see enrollment go down? What were the results of that increase?
So our enrollment was still steadily increasing over the years. Our enrollment didn't really decline until the COVID year.
Okay.
That's when it dropped.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask about the CATC, which I'm so proud to have in my district. I feel like it's a wonderful model of workforce development that is actually connected to jobs at the back end. Can you talk about the current enrollment at the CATC and your plan to increase enrollment?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that question. We have about 350 students enrolled there right now. That's double our enrollment this time last year.
Okay, that's great.
Still, yeah, it's great. Still a small number. We know that there's a lot of capacity there, so we are building and expanding our program. We believe that the Navy project and additional support and expansion of our footprint there with that program and those programs, non-destructive testing, will also contribute to the increased enrollment.
And what are your goals for further expansion?
We're really leaning in on the advanced manufacturing space and collaboration with the Navy. We're hopeful we'll get some additional funding support for that. A lot of these programs are high-cost programs, and it's really difficult for us to expand without some type of partnership. We're also working with Hanwha. We were there maybe about 2-3 weeks ago visiting with CEO at Hanwha, working on how do we develop pathways and what kind of support we can get from the employers to develop out different curriculum and programming. They are supporting us with that in that regard. So as we respond to the needs and the requests, we're hoping that we'll also get partnership, investment. Part of that is deepening our partnership to be able to deliver those programs.
Great. Last super quick question. I saw you put up all of your partnerships, and I know that you have a lot of students that transfer to Temple, and I was pleased to see Drexel, but I didn't see Penn. Can you talk about how many students transfer from CCP to the University of Pennsylvania each year? And have you talked with Penn about building a partnership and increasing that number?
So we might have to get back to you with the exact number, but I do know when I was serving as provost, we were always looking to expand that pipeline. We have had multiple conversations with Penn recently as last week we had a meeting with them. They definitely see the value in deepening the partnership and creating pathways for our students. We're starting with honor students. There have been conversations around a pathway for our honor students there and expanding and building on that, but there's definitely opportunity, and we've had conversations with their provost and their leadership over there most recently.
I would love to further that conversation. We all know that there are so many things they're allowed to say or not say. This is an easy way for them to live out their values and their mission. So I would love to talk about expanding that partnership further.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chair recognizes Councilman Nicholas O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, President Marshall, and all the cabinet that is here. Thank you for all that you do to make higher education accessible for the residents of Philadelphia. Last year, CCP reached a contract agreement with the Faculty and Staff Union, AFT Local 2026. The agreement was widely reported on by the media, and it came in the final hours before a potential faculty and staff strike. I remember someone was there till about 4 in the morning in discussions, and I remember hearing the good news that the strike was averted. I am concerned, however, that CCP has not honored its agreement with the Faculty and Staff Union to provide SEPTA passes for all CCP students. In your testimony, you shared that you signed a non-contractual MOU with AFT that you would negotiate with SEPTA for a free transit benefit. AFT members understood this to be a vital part of their contract negotiation. Can you help us understand, explain the difference in the understanding here?
Yeah, so we signed a non-contractual memorandum of understanding, and the language of that said the parties agree that during the term of this agreement, the college will negotiate with SEPTA for a free public transportation benefit. In keeping with this, we've continued negotiations with SEPTA, which actually began in January of 2024. The college also launched a free pilot program at our Career and Advanced Technology Center located in West Philadelphia. And let me just start by saying this. As we've been negotiating with SEPTA, the dollar amount that they have quoted for us in order to provide free SEPTA passes for all of our students is a little over $2 million.
How many? How much? 2 million?
2.1.
2.1 million.
Yes. We simply don't have that, right? However, we understand that we want to provide services to our students, so we have been working on how do we do that, at least in incremental ways. So we started a pilot at our Career Advanced Technology Center, particularly around supporting the students that were there, having an opportunity to perhaps increase enrollment there at the same time, but then give a sense to us about how it's going to be in terms of cost to administer the program. As we've done that, we've also worked with our Student Government Association. Daniel, we've worked with him to survey the student population to really identify what percentage of our students would actually want and take advantage of this, because we want to go into this in a thoughtful and a strategic way. As we decide to offer SEPTA passes for our student population, we are signing up for this into perpetuity, which means every budgetary cycle we will be looking for a certain dollar amount. So I know, it seems like a quick decision, but as I look at it, if we start offering SEPTA passes, which I think would be great, we are signing up to 2.1 or more as our enrollment increases, and every year we will need to figure out how to fund that. And so I will say we started the pilot. We're assessing that. We're gathering the data from the students through Student Government Association. About 50% of our students actually use public transit, and so there are a large portion of our students that drive and so forth. And then we're also looking at how can we potentially identify a certain population of students that are really our neediest students and maybe support them as we start to figure out how do we finance this over the long haul. The last thing I'll say is that, we have shared this request with state in Harrisburg yesterday. We talked about these numbers. There is some general support. And so, we're making it very clear that this is something we'd like to provide, but we're just not in a financial position to do it right now and into the future with that dollar amount for all of our students.
If I may, Ms. President Marshall.
Sure.
And I heard the bill, Mr. President, so I want to be mindful of the clock. With all respect, please hear me if I seem a bit direct. The strike last year was averted on the premise that this had been agreed to and was going to be worked out. And so it seems this is challenging for me to hear, and I'm sure others as well, that it sounds like we're figuring out whether or not we can or we will do it. And so I really want to, press on this that the only reason why we're in a good position right now to even be having this discussion is because we were able to avert it upon an agreement. And there's an understanding that AFT has that I think that you all do not have with them. The questions I want to ask following this is when we can actually expect CCP to provide SEPTA passes for all CCP students based off of that agreement, and what the plan was for negotiating with SEPTA moving forward on that front. I was going to ask, has CCP requested additional funding this year from the city or pursued philanthropy grants or other sources to support the transit benefit? I'm assuming, maybe I should ask that question, has there been an ask within your budget proposal to fund the passes? Like, is that included in your calculations in your tally?
We have asked state for that, and so that was part of our conversations yesterday at state.
So the budget proposal to the state has been to include those particular passes.
Right, as we've been discussing, the city has been a great partner with us, but the state is lagging behind. So, from my standpoint, I know how challenged the city budget is. It makes sense for me to talk about how can we get state support. We're not the only institution, particularly that might benefit from something like this at their institution as well. So, we are continuing to have those conversations with state as recently as yesterday. And I will say the agreement was not to provide free SEPTA passes for students, it was to negotiate with SEPTA to try to get there. And that's what we agreed to. And so, I understand the interpretation of that, and I understand, how people took that away as we will provide. But I will say, had we said that, that probably would have been premature. I'm new in this role, trying to assess what our financial situation and picture would be, and need to really understand what we will be signing up for and how the college will be able to support this in the long term.
And again, no shade on you or anything like that, but I am going to advocate for AFT in that I think it undermines confidence in conversations, that as you come back to the table, eventually you have to. It's going to be hard for anyone to believe that when you have that sort of agreement, and I understand there are different interpretations on it, but when you have this sort of agreement, that they can trust that they're going to come through if we come a year back, come a year later, ask about the update on these things, that they are clear in their minds, they're clear, they're supposed to be expecting or getting or figuring out what the plan is, something more concrete, and the response is, well, we don't have the money, we're not really sure. So, this is a major concern, I think, for them, certainly for myself. I'll leave the balance of the questions I had on that because I'm clear what your response is. One question, and I'll get off the mic. I've heard from AFT members that there are challenges with HVAC systems at all 3 campuses. Some staff are working from home indefinitely because of conditions of offices are unbearable and there are no other spaces for them to work. How did this happen? What is the college's plan to address this particular situation?
Yeah, so I appreciate that question. We have old buildings. We've had HVAC issues historically. We were pleased to receive funding from the state to address some of these issues, and we are prioritizing the buildings where the highest need is and the impact is on students. So as I've been sending out communications as recently, I think, as last week, we sent a facilities update where we indicated one of our buildings, which really has high traffic of students coming in, classes, CBI, that's our CBI building, that I have prioritized that, and we are allocating some of that money towards addressing that in the near future. The building is actually offline so that we can get in there and address it this summer, and we'll be ready to go for the fall. It has been a long time, 5+ years where this has been addressed, but I'm prioritizing it under my administration, and we're moving forward with addressing that.
Okay, thank you. I'm done. I just want to reiterate again, I do think it's essential that we figure out, I've even said this amongst my colleagues, certainly when budgets are not, when other states in the country are, they're not helping to provide necessary funding that you may be relying on, it requires municipalities or other separate entities to think differently about how you're going to meet your particular budgets, how you're going to stand on your own 2 feet. I don't know what decisions you have to make. You're in a tough position as president, but I do think that there has to be some figuring out when you're talking to unions, if they're walking away with the understanding that averts a strike that was certainly going to happen, and then a year later they're not getting a real solid response or answer on actually delivering on the thing that they were standing 10 toes down on, we got to figure out how to move differently. And so I just want to encourage us to think about that. I don't mean no harm, but I do think this matters to them. I'm a big proponent of transit. I'm not the only one who's advocating for this. It is essential that they get this. So please find out a way to address that matter. Thank you for your time, Mr. President. Thank you.
I do have a question, though. Was anything in writing?
I'm sorry?
Was anything in writing?
So the union negotiates on behalf of the faculty, not students.
I remember last year.
So, but there was no agreement.
Nothing in writing?
Nothing in writing. The memorandum of understanding was that we would agree to look into trying to do that. Again, I understand that people walk away and say, yay, that's what we're going to do, but, I have to be a good steward of the financial resources that the college has. I have to prioritize, along with my team, what is, highest priority. And then what can we maintain into the future? Like I said, I could not be the president tomorrow, but whoever came and sat in this seat will have to find at least $2 million every single year, or they're going to have to abruptly stop providing SEPTA passes for students, and that's not a good look either. So I'm trying to think more broadly about how do we work with other entities. Perhaps the state can pick this up and they will, help us with that. Maybe they're listening. But, I don't want to sign us up for something that's going to cause a problem every single year, and I definitely would not want to provide SEPTA passes to students in 1 year and the next year say we don't have the money to do it, and, so that's where we are. But we are on the same page. We want to do it.
So I would think, and I'm just objectively looking at all of this, and obviously I want to advocate and be supportive of the students, right? So they could potentially strike this year, right? If things don't go the way they would think they would. I mean, I would think if somebody agreed to do something, or I'm gonna have interpretation that they agreed that I did something, and then they say, well, next year, that's not what we interpreted. I probably would get my team together and be like, well, you know what? Just asking, trying to get clarity.
That would be very unfortunate because I think we're all here for the students and the
Kids.
success of the students. When we
Yes, our
strike, we
students.
disrupt their educational experience. But I think someone wants to say something who's on the.
Hi, Carolyn
My
Flynn,
team.
I'm General Counsel. You're asking,
We brought the
essentially-
lawyers up.
yes, sorry. I'll keep it brief, though. The Federation, this is not a term that's in the collective bargaining agreement, and we have a collective bargaining agreement with the Federation with the terms that would, an agreement not to strike during the period of that, the term of the CBA, which goes through August 31st of 2028.
28?
Yes.
Okay.
And as the term that we're discussing relates not to a term or condition of their employment, but to a student benefit, arguably, and I think the college's position would be that they are not able to strike based upon a term or condition that does not infect their employment.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Just want to get additional information. I just want to go on a record and say, any way that we can support the students there, I know this is an added benefit and understand about, thinking about who may be president in the future and taking on additional costs, even in the strategy of working with the state and the city as well. To try to figure out how we would make something like this work. Because we have the resources, it's just what we prioritize. On the city level, we have a $7 billion budget. On the state, they have a tremendous surplus, and I understand you saying, look, I'm not gonna put it all on the city, and so I want the state to participate, and I do know Chairman of the Philadelphia delegation is on your board as well, Morgan Cephas. I know she does a lot of hard work as well. But it should be a convening and a meeting of the minds to try to figure out how we can be supportive of our young people, especially with the issue of affordability that's going on right now. And so I'm trying to get a balanced approach. So I hear you exactly as well in terms of wanting to be responsible in terms of how you go about it. And also, our role is to try to break down as many barriers as possible for young people to take advantage of their great high-quality education that CCP has to offer. And so just wanted to say that. Chair recognizes Councilman Dr. Anthony Phillips.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say first, thank you, Dr. Marshall, for your leadership and for actually doing your best to listen to your students and your faculty. I do co-sign with Councilmember O'Rourke and Council President Johnson about the importance of trying to get to that request. I just want to know, how much would it cost to get to that request over a 5-year period?
So that's part of what we're trying to assess.
Okay.
When I talk about, being thoughtful, the $2.1 million is actually just the cost of the passes based on our current enrollment annually. What we're doing with our pilot is trying to assess human resources piece, because there is an implementation piece, there's work that has to be done. Right now, someone is picking up that work, but there's potentially a position that we might have to hire if we were going to really do this broad scale and if we're going to continue to do it. So part of this period of time around the pilot is to also, get real numbers around the student interest and who would take advantage, to figure out what that looks like in terms of our human resources, because again, we would have to hire somebody and we will need to sustain their salary wages into perpetuity if we were going to really offer this as part of what we do. So the 2.1 is really just what the SEPTA passes cost, but it doesn't take into consideration, which is what we're trying to assess now, human resources and infrastructure that would need to set that
To
up.
set it up. Okay, great. So continue to assess with that information. I know it's a difficult decision because you have a lot of priorities for the Community College of Philadelphia that you probably want to, what do you want to advocate first as the number one priority compared to all of it? Because that $2 million can go to some other big priority. But I do want to congratulate you on the fact that you have this clubhouse, which is really nice. A lot of families need that. I do want to ask you another question. The Cato Scholarship, it's full scholarship for students in a certain income bracket, correct? The Cato, it's a full tuition scholarship, correct?
Last dollar, yes.
So with that being in mind, have you seen, what is the graduation rate for students with the Cato Scholarship?
It's about 36%, yes.
46%.
36%.
36%.
Where our current population is 24%, so.
So there are advocates that are saying that we need to increase the number of Cato recipients, which I truly understand, right? But at the same time, we only have a 36% graduation rate for those who are getting fully invested in to go to the Community College of Philadelphia. What do you think is contributing to that, I'm not going to say relatively low graduation rate, where even if people who are getting fully paid for are not finishing?
I'm going to have Dr. Seth Jacobson speak to that. He oversees the Cato Scholarship Program.
Good afternoon. I think it's a great question. It's something that we grapple with and we think about a lot. In fact, when I first started at the college, one of the things I took a very vested interest in is looking at survey exits for all of our students that end up leaving the college, to really look into, despite all of the supports that are being provided, what is it that is moving them to leave the college and the scholarship. And the reasons end up being on par with what we're seeing at the college at large and at community colleges across the country, right? We have a higher representation of our lowest socioeconomic economic bracket students and residents of the city. And so they're also, in addition to the supports that they're being provided, or despite the supports they're being provided, they're still grappling with poverty, housing insecurity, and while we do work really closely to try to ameliorate that through the last dollar tuition, through course material coverage, and even a monthly basic needs allowance to provide that to offset support for it, what the students say is $275 is just not going to cut it in terms of some of the realities that they're facing in their homes and in their families. So when it comes to where and why we're still seeing a lower rate, or not a higher rate rather, it's a lot of the same reasons that we're seeing low graduation rates at community colleges across the country.
Do you transfer, if someone doesn't finish, do you transfer those funds over to another student who was waitlisted for the Cato Scholarship?
Yes,
Okay.
when students are unable to complete the program, we're able to open up more seats for any students that have not been able to get into the scholarship.
Okay, that's very important to me because I understand because housing, wages, economic things cause for people not to finish, but it's also relatively not necessarily in the best interest of the college or the student if you start and you don't finish, and then that funding that someone else could have utilized to finish your education is not necessarily utilized. So I don't know if we have to begin to have an agreement that says that, at some point, if you receive this funding, you have to finish, or you're owed 5%, something. I don't know what it may be, but I just think people have to finish if they're given a grant of that nature.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate what Dr. Marshall mentioned. While the rate is low, or it does appear to be low, 36% compared to the general population is still significantly higher than the general population. And then when you look at Caddo Scholars' counterpart, so students, when you're comparing apples to apples when it comes to other students who would have qualified for Caddo but were not able to get in because they were waitlisted, the difference in terms of the graduation rate is doubled. So we know that when the students get those wraparound supports, we know that they lead to much higher graduation rates. It certainly doesn't solve the entire problem. But the other thing I'll just mention as well is Caddo is modeled after a proven national model out in New York City, the CUNY ASAP program. And our results are on par with what they've seen over the past 20 years as they've been looking to boost their graduation rates. So students that participate in a comparable program in New York are seeing double the graduation rates. But generally speaking, across the country, community college graduation rates are just not that high. And so while Caddo and those wraparound supports we know are working, they just unfortunately don't solve all of the challenges that some of our students are facing.
Gotcha. And I heard there were some concerns about student safety as well. How's the college addressing increased concerns around student safety?
Student safety.
Student and faculty safety, I gather.
Thank you, Councilman. So around safety, we do have a public safety department, and we actually are an open campus because we're in a city. However, we are required to have individuals swipe it with ID. So we have security guards at every entrance, and pretty much our security guards monitor safety, and we have a safety team that kind of monitors our campus 24/7.
Okay, I'll follow up later with more data around, safety issues that I'm concerned about. Thank you so much, Dr. Marshall and team. And also, I want to give a shout out to Kenesha. She's been doing a great job with engaging all of us as City Council. She is an incredible force for you all. So thank you, Kenesha, for your service to the Community College of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Harity, Councilmember Rulandau, and Councilmember Jay Young.
Good afternoon, everyone. My questions are also around I'm the labor chair on council, so I'm very concerned about promises made, promises being kept. This was a good faith agreement between the college and the thing. One of the reasons they actually went back was because you guys said you would work on getting the school passes for the kids and the facility leaders. I understand that cost plays a big thing, but in some of your own testimony today, you've said that some of the things that help and will help with the graduation rate is those services, the wraparound services. I would argue that this is a wraparound services that, the students in community college would need. They're at community college for a reason. Most of the time it's because the institutional schools were too expensive and they needed to go a less expensive way. Not saying that the education's any different. Community college, we all know, is a great school. My wife is enrolled at community college in the paralegal studies thing. But, our concerns and my concerns, just like the council president, Nick O'Rourke, is that this is going to bite us back at some point. Because, as a union guy, I know if somebody makes a promise to me and then they don't come or live up to that promise, then the next time I'm going, I'm not going to take their word for anything, and it's going to end up causing other issues. And while I know the finances, but as the council president, something this important, we should be able to find a way. So, could you elaborate more on the whole?
So I appreciate that perspective and the advocacy. I think we are all aligned in terms of the desire and the need for this service. I will say that for our pilot, we just have some numbers here. Out of the 300 students that were eligible for the pilot at our Career Advanced Technology Center, only 80 of our students are actually taking advantage of it. So part of my deliberation and thinking about this is trying to assess what the actual need is, and then trying to work with SEPTA so that we are not on the hook for people that aren't going to need the service, right? And so that's part of the exploratory phase. The promise was made to look into trying to do this and to work with SEPTA to get to a place where we could provide it. We have kept the promise. I will say that the member of understanding was made under a different administration. This is a new administration.
I got it. Now, this is the new sheriff in town.
I mean, no, this is just facts. I'm saying that at the time, I was part of the negotiations in full transparency, but my role was a provost and vice president of academic and student success. I did not have information or authority over budget at the time. The decision was made by those in authority to make the decision. I agree that if we could provide this would be great. But I have now information about budget and trying to figure out how to do that. And so I think we're on the same page.
I'd like to know how you're actually getting it out there, because if you're saying 300 students were eligible for the pilot and you only had 80 sign up, that doesn't make sense to me. And I live in Kensington. If you're giving us something, we're taking it and we're going to use it. So I know a lot of those students are from my neighborhood, just like they're from Jeffrey's neighborhood and Jamie's neighborhood and everybody else's neighborhood here. The public transportation thing, I would say then that even if that is true, then that means you have 220 slots available that we can give to somebody else, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a conversation to help us with negotiating with SEPTA. They have ways by which they are approaching this with us that is somewhat rigid, which is why we are negotiating. So, I don't want to get into too much detail, but they have presented it to us in a certain way that says this is how we would price it for you. This is based, on who we think is going to use it, and we're working with them to figure out a way we can get to a place where we're comfortable with our budget and we're addressing the needs of our students. But that is what happened at our Career Advanced Technology Center. We're also doing a student survey and gathering information from that. So we want to put together an informed proposal of how we might do this moving forward. Dr. Rooney can speak a little bit to the survey and the information that we've been gathered to date.
Sure, good afternoon. I'm Shannon Rooney. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management and Strategic Communication. I think you've posed a really good question, and it's one that has been animating our entire leadership group. Just to give you a little bit of a sense of how we got that information out to students, we also expected much closer to 100% adoption from students. We hosted SEPTA on site twice. We also had folks who worked at the CATC in person handing out cards. We sent out emails weekly to students who were eligible, and we also text messaged students who were eligible. Part of the text messaging campaign, we asked students to let us know why they had not adopted or signed up for the program for which they were eligible. We got very little feedback on that, to all of our kind of shock. Anecdotally, what we did hear from the students who did respond to those surveys, they were telling us that they were either driving or they were taking alternative methods, or they already were getting SEPTA benefits elsewhere. So that's the kind of scant information we have right now. To Dr. Marshall's point, we are in the process of taking a look at a much larger survey that we developed in collaboration with our Student Government Association, because we really do want to kind of understand what our students are telling us they need and want.
Yeah, because that's a little hard to take, okay, I'm going to let it go because of time. But just know, I will be standing out there with the union when we go to negotiate again. And, being new is not going to be an excuse the next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Rulandow, then Jay Young, and Dr. Nina Matt will wrap us up for the day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Doc. We are very, very happy that you're here. You're making some very significant changes to CCP. Love seeing the gains that you're doing. And as we're seeing a rollback on even availability and eligibility of student loans for parents and students going forward, CCP is more important than ever to make sure that people can afford going to college and figuring themselves out and whatnot, and you're making it very, very easy for them. So thank you. I'm going to try not to double, triple down on the steps the student passes. I too was really excited to think that we were finally at a point where we are going to provide passes to everybody. We just had a budget town hall in South Philadelphia last week, and somebody stood up to the microphone and said, I'm a CCP student and I cannot afford to get there. I can't afford to get to my classes. I would suggest, as we try to figure this out, and we will try to help with as much funding as we can, that maybe it is part of the terms and conditions of employment for your faculty when the students can't get to class. So we need the students to come to class. We need the faculty to get everything they need to teach it. All we're trying to do is trying to make it easier. I know you want this too, so we're all on the same page. We can all work collectively to make this happen, but this would be the success story for, for the region, maybe even the country, who knows, that we all got together and made this happen. So I'm going to get to, we touched on a couple of other things already, including the Cato Scholarship. I want to get to something kind of touchy that I've heard about. I'm the chair of the tech committee, and I know that the board has approved $1 million purchase of the Evolve weapons detection systems from Allied Universal Technologies. It's a detection system that has had questionable reliability. There's been serious concerns. Even the FTC in 2024 basically called it false advertising and marketing, that they can detect the weapons they say they can. And I know, my understanding is that you did this through your foundation, and I wanted to hear more about it and whether or not you should have or could have collaborated with the faculty and students and others on this purchase.
I'll jump in. So this is a result of a local share grant, so it's not, college money operating. However, the decision to approve to use this money in this way was made by the board. No money has been spent as of to date. And again, this was a follow-up from a previous decision. So I am assessing whether or not we're needing to move forward with this in real time. We've just had an official session with the board that says you can do this, but it has not been done yet. And so we're looking at that.
I think there's point of information, is that
Sure.
right? Councilmember O'Rourke, are you? Point of information.
I gotta acknowledge him first.
I know.
Chair now, Councilmember Nicholas O'Rourke.
Thank you. I just wanted to circle back. So, you had someone who mentioned that there were other SEPTA benefits that were being utilized by some of the students. Can you just clarify what those are, if you know, whoever it was? Is it zero fare? Like,
Right. So-
what are the benefits that are being used by students that we know?
Yeah, so I can speak to the fact that through our Cato Scholarship Program, there is a transportation stipend, so sometimes people use that for SEPTA passes. We also have single stop services where we provide support for students in transportation who have high need. And if they come to us with a need, we sometimes offer them SEPTA passes through those avenues. So students
Those two,
may
single
be
stop and
taking.
Cato Central.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The floor is yours,
Thank you, Dr.
Councilmember
Marshall. I'd like to get back to,
Rulandow.
you said it was a local share grant. Is the grant only for security for the campus?
Yes. We applied, previously there was an application, it was approved, and we were awarded that. We have not drawn that down, we have not made we haven't
Okay,
used it yet.
would it be possible to look at other possibilities and to spend the money elsewhere? If there's $1 million, I'm sure people want higher security, but is there a possibility of allocating that money in a different way and not going with above?
So as it relates to grant funding, it's restricted. So it's restricted for the purpose that we applied for, which was the metal detectors. So we cannot reallocate that money for other purposes at the time.
For metal detectors.
It's for metal detectors.
Okay.
And just a point of clarification, the contract has not been signed yet.
Gotcha. Is there a way to use a different company with different metal detectors with this money?
So we typically do what we call the RFP process. So we did an RFP process and we looked at that particular technology. We outsource our contract security with Allied. So we currently have a relationship with Allied. So we thought it would be best to use a software that Allied is familiar with. And this software is used throughout the city. Xfinity Center, when you go to basketball games, you go through this software. So it is a popular software. But once again, we have not implemented it yet. The contract has not been signed. We are simply received approval from our board and we are exploring.
Okay.
So we're continuing to work on this.
Thank you very much for that information. Okay, thank you.
Cool, Real? Good? Just was making sure you were all right. Chair recognizes Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young, then Councilman Dr. Nina Mai, and then Ru Landau will take us home.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I just want to acknowledge CCP for the hard work that you do. This past Saturday, I personally know of multiple graduates, including the son of my chief of staff and my political director, who were two of the high school students from Poise Latin who got their associate's degree. And I want to give a special shout out to my intern who's leaving our office this week, Selena. She was our legislator for the day from CCP, and she interned in our office, and she also just graduated this past Saturday as well. So, and she's done a great job for us in our office. So I know the pathway. CCP creates a lot of opportunities for people who kind of just don't know what they want to do, right? And you're becoming much more you're playing a much more larger role when it comes to the city's workforce development ecosystem. I mean, you're involved with the CCME, you have the dual enrollment, teacher pathways, and industrial training. But how do you decide what industries get scaled, what programs get subsidy, and how employer demand is validated before students are recruited into those different pathways?
That's a great question. So the majority of our programs have an industry advisory board, which they meet with the program leadership, the faculty, they meet with the advisory boards who provide input in terms of making sure that our curriculum is relevant and what are the standards for the industry, as well as what do they need to be successful in the workplace if they're pursuing a career in that way. So we do have extensive engagement with industry. A great example is our collaboration with Hanwha. We've been talking with them. We want to make sure we're developing curriculum that's going to supply. I think the most important piece of this is that we're prioritizing high priority occupations. One of those occupations is welding, and that's going to be thousands and thousands of workers that are needed. So we're looking at and identifying where the need is, where there are guaranteed job opportunities, but also where there's opportunities for students to graduate or complete the program and make a living wage that they can take care of their families. As part of our strategic planning process, I'm working with my team to actually take a look at academic programs, our inventory, to understand and make sure that our programs are relevant. And if there are programs that are no longer relevant, we need to think about that, because we need to make sure that our programs are preparing students for success and that they can make a living wage. So those pieces are taken into consideration. Obviously, what we've been talking about here is funding. So, some programs may start more quickly than others. If we have an investment from an industry partner or something like that, it may be easier for us to stand that up. So we take that into consideration as well. But we're definitely looking at high priority occupations, where the career interest is for our students, but where the workforce need is, and that's where we need to prioritize our programming.
Okay, thank you. So it seems like from the numbers, there were 400 folks who were enrolled in the CCME program, 80 completed, with some more being coming. Like, how many of those who completed the program actually entered city employment?
again. Seth Jacobson, Interim Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Community Engagement. So just as a point of clarification, because there's been a lot of evolution in the CCME program, even in the 19 months that it's been in existence. So there's actually, at the college level, there's 4 different programs that we're running through CCME. And those programs are what we call the traditional CCME program, which is those pathways that you were referring to that lead residents into jobs, or are designed to lead residents into jobs with city government. There's the upskilling program, which is supporting current city employees to get upskilling in their areas of, in their subject areas. We have a high school program, which is we're working with the city as well as the school district to expose more high school students to careers in city government and just thriving industries in general. And we have a civic entrepreneurs program as well, which is a new sort of internship program for CCP students to get, who are pursuing associate's degrees, to get exposed to city government jobs. As well. And so so across all those different programs, when it comes to the traditional program, or rather across all those programs, over about 56% of those completers have now moved into what we are considering desirable next steps. So that either are jobs with city government, or it is continuing education with Community College of Philadelphia.
So I get that. So that kind of inflates what I'm looking for. So I mean, so for the first program then, right? The first program is just students enrolling to direct path to a city job. Program number 1 you mentioned. How many of those completers got a city job? Not, that's the goal of this program, is to get folks into a job with the city of Philadelphia. So out of
For
that
the traditional program?
The traditional program, how many of those people?
So our numbers indicate that there are 14 that are currently in city jobs. And those go across the streets department, water department, police department, procurement, and Office of Innovation and Technology.
It's a point of information. We went over this in the past, and I think the level of investment, I think it was 14 million, correct? Because I think it was $1 million per individual who actually got a summer job. Is that correct?
Just hear that again, because I mean,
So I guess just clarifying it, there's 14 million that was invested in the initiative, and there's actually only 14 individuals who receive city jobs, which is that's 1 million per individual.
So I don't.
If you can clarify that for us for the record.
In terms of the exact.
Release the time back to member.
Apologies.
Go ahead, sir. You can respond.
So we're aware of it, a $10 million investment total, but to your point, Council President, again, kind of going back to sort of the evolution of CCME over the past 19 months, it was originally focused on moving folks into jobs in city government, but has since evolved into a number of other programs that are not just moving folks into city jobs, but also other thriving industries across the region as well. So there's an evolution of that. The other thing that I would mention is that these are students who have been moving into the program, and some are still in the program, and the programs range from anywhere from 8 months to 18 months, and so some students are still completing. Other students are still in the pipeline. They are on civil service lists. They're waiting for interviews, and so we're working with our partners in the city, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to reduce any potential barriers for those graduates to move into city government jobs. We're also continuing to work with those remaining students who have completed the program to ensure that they are, again, still on track to being able to get employment with the city, or that we're helping them to move into another desirable pathway, desirable for them. So whether that is continued education at CCP for free, if we can get them into the Cato Scholarship, to continue sort of stack upon the existing education that they receive through CCME, or looking at alternative employment where the skills that they learn through CCME are applicable in another area.
Yeah, I understand that the program has evolved over the past 18, 19 months, but the goal is we have so many vacancies in the city of Philadelphia right now. Every department comes to us. I mean, the fire department had hundreds of vacancies, right? So every department has these vacancies, and for us to only have 14 jobs, I mean, with that level of investment, I mean, we might as well give the people the money directly then, right? I mean, it will save some money. So I just want to, even with the 56% rate, right? I mean, that's still not enough for the investment to put, that we're putting into this to fill the vacancies that we have in the city. So if that's the goal, is to ensure that we have a city workforce that's ready, able, and willing to do the job, then I think we have to really look at that program a little bit more to see what other ways can we get our residents ready for city employment for that level of investment.
Excuse me, Member Young. Member Gaultier has a point of information.
I just wanted to correct the record that the 14 is sort of an uptick from what we heard from the hearing. At the hearing, we heard that 9 people were employed from a $10 million investment, which was roughly $1 million a person. And to Councilmember Young's point, like I worked in the funding world before I came to City Council. We would never fund a workforce development program with those numbers. But also, most workforce development programs don't control the training side and the employment side. Like we are both sides. So if there are changes we need to make on the employment side to take in the people that we are training, arguably we have the power to do that. So this should not be a workforce development program that is seeing those kind of numbers, because we have the power to change things if we wish to. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilmember Young.
Thank you. Just one last question. There was, of course, we all know the recent labor unrest at CCP, creates, I'll say, different experiences between the workforce quality and the student experiences. And the faculty and staff union secured a fact finder, to authorize that strike before they reached the tentative agreement. And I know you weren't in the president of the college then, but you were in leadership. So what did you learn from that breakdown, and what has actually changed in the labor management relations since then?
So we're talking about the SEPTA passes, correct? And the agreement to look into providing SEPTA passes.
So
as
that's
part of
one
the
part of it, but I'm just overall, I mean, just overall as the management style, like what have you learned since that process of negotiating with the union, and like how can we create a better atmosphere for that relationship?
So I appreciate that question. I think it's pertinent. One of the things that I instituted, and it's a great example to share today in light of the conversation we've been having, I've started a listening tour. So what I'm doing is going around to various departments and divisions at the college and just sitting down and listening. What's going great? What can we improve? What are the challenges? 2 listening tours that I had last week were specifically, independently, came up with challenges and problems with one particular building at our institution, the CBI building. This happened last week, 2 weeks ago, within the past couple weeks. Immediately that day, I had cabinet members come in. We looked at what were our priorities for maintenance and issues that dealt with HVAC, and we moved up this building because it was impacting negatively the student experience, and I'm hearing it from multiple places, multiple departments. So let's figure out, how do we fix this, and how do we fix this now? And so I think this open communication, in addition to monthly meeting with Federation leadership, myself and my cabinet, we meet once a month with the Federation leadership, and we have an open agenda where they bring any concerns that they have. They can discuss that with us. If we have information we want to share, we do that. And I think it's keeping the lines of communication open. I also think that we have to have more transparency in communications, which I've tried to institute. I had an open meeting, a gathering a couple of weeks ago where I shared what was going on with the finances, where we are as an institution. And so I think it's communication and opening those channels. I think we want the same thing, what's best for students. So I'm happy to continue that.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership with the college. I think is, going to see improvements with your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but definitely not least, Councilwoman Dr. Nina Ahmed. It's Dr. Nina Ahmed, right?
That is correct.
And member Gautier has a master's from Penn, right? And planning. And Jeffrey Young has
I have a Juris Doctorate from
Juris Doctorate from
Juris Doctor,
Temple,
yeah.
right?
We got some eggheads
And
here.
Dr. Anthony Phillips from Morehouse. I haven't seen this level of education in the history of City Council, but I'm gonna leave that there right now. So, the chair recognizes Councilman Dr. Nina Ahmed.
Well, thank you so much, Council President, and to pitch myself awake. Thank you again for being here. I am so excited by all the changes that are going on at CCP. You know, they're all forward-looking, getting our children ready for the millennium we're in. There's a lot of catch-up to do, and you're doing it. So thank you. But there's always a but, right? So there's 3 questions I have very quickly. One is, this is my role as Chair of Public Health and Human Services. I am always concerned about our children and foster youth who are enrolled at CCP and those aging out. And what is the enrollment pipeline or program specifically for that population, and how we need to really support them as they enter adulthood? So that's one question. 2 is, you note that 25% of the students are parents, right? And what specific supports are in place to ensure that student parents can persist and graduate? And I believe that there was a childcare center that was closed. And what would it take to open it and to provide affordable childcare? And connected to that, what are the outcomes and retention graduation rates for graduation of parents compared to non-parents in CCP? And last question is about faculty, because that's the other side of the coin. I wanted to know, how many hours do you think faculty leaders are working? Do you believe faculty leaders have sustainable workloads? And what are you doing to ensure we're able to retain and recruit and retain talented faculty that students need and deserve? And obviously, we've heard issues around overloaded faculty members who are leaving because of these overloads and uncomfortable situations at work. So sorry I had to pack it all in because I'm the last person asking questions.
Okay, I'm going to try to remember all of the questions, and thank you for this question. One thing I wrote down was about student parents and what are we doing in that regard. So I'll start by saying, it was mentioned earlier, we recently opened Rory's Cub House, which is a specific dedicated area on our campus where students can come with their children. There's a play area there and there's a study area there, and they don't have to decide whether or not they're going to study and work as they're trying to get an education and trying to raise children at the same time. So we were pleased to be able to have support from the Jed Foundation for this, and we were able to open that, and that was a great opportunity to support our student parents.
Just a point of information. So it's a support, it's not a daycare where you can leave your children, and sometimes you need the time to do whatever you have to do without your children. So I just wanted to make sure.
Correct.
That was not a replacement, just an added facility.
It's an added facility to support student parents in their experience with us when they come to the college. We did close down our child care center, particularly because of expenses and running it. So that is something that we are looking into to determine how we can afford to stand that up again and what that would look like. So we are exploring that because we understand that that's a need, that if we could provide that, that would be great. We are in the process of doing that right now. The other
Excuse me one
piece,
second.
Yeah,
Excuse
sure.
me 1 second, Madam President. Member Jeffrey J. Young, point of information.
Thank you. So you said you were having issues with like funding the child care. I mean, I used to represent like daycare owners, right, in my previous life, and I know that it could be a lucrative business. Like, have you guys applied for like the CCIS, or we had our Philly Pre-K? Like, what made it difficult to have that type of service, because I know for a fact there are a lot of students with kids who go to, and that could be a barrier for them that can increase your graduation rate from 24% to something a little bit higher than that. So what's the barriers to at least, having a childcare where we have all these other types of subsidies that could help with that?
So yes, I appreciate that. The biggest piece of it was that it was used by our students, or the need for our students was on a drop-in, right? Students are coming in, they're bringing their child so that they can take a class on Mondays and Wednesdays from 2 to 3. Unfortunately, that volume, when you don't have people actually using the facility from 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, that was not sustainable in terms of the cost for providing the care and what KinderCare was getting to run that program. We just didn't have enough usage of it, quite frankly. And I think it goes back to what we've been talking about in terms of actual usage, what that would look like, and that's something that we're trying to assess right now. So that was one issue. Derek can speak to the specific finances of doing that, but it really decreased in usage of our students, so it just became counterproductive for us to continue to operate it. It was several years ago. We're in a different day, we're in a different time, a different student population. It might be more viable to do it now, so we are looking at that.
Was it available like from 9 to 5 to the students? Did they know that they don't just have to just drop their kid off while they're in this class versus,
Yes, but we find that, so I'm speaking, I wasn't here at the institution, so this is my understanding. We found that students more likely wanted to drop their kids off at a daycare center that was closer to their home as opposed to bringing them to the school and then dropping them off. So that was kind of impacting the frequency or the need for the usage at the time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dr. Ahmad.
Oh, you're welcome.
Dr. Ahmad?
Thank you, Council President. Please proceed with the remaining questions.
Okay. The other piece I wanted to mention is that we are applying for a C-Campus grant, so that's an opportunity to provide support for our students. If we were to get that, they would provide support and funding for our students to be able to pay for or offset the pay for childcare if they wanted that. So we are trying to address it in multiple ways in addition to looking into the child care center. I'm going to ask Dr. Jacobson to speak to the foster care initiatives.
Sure. And I just to dovetail off of what Dr. Marshall was saying on top of that with the visit to Harrisburg yesterday, we know that there is some state funding available to support student parents through what's called the PA Parent Pathways Program. And so we are actively seeking that funding as well. And part of our trip up there yesterday and talking to our representatives was to be sure that they're advocating on our behalf, given the need that you identified. In terms of our students that have experience in the foster system, we have a Fostering Caring Connections program at the college, which is really just our way of trying to be very intentional about supporting that population. So that program is in partnership with the Field Center as well as the Achieving Independence Center. The Achieving Independence Center is where we're able to get referrals from former foster youth to ensure that we're connecting them to a single point of contact on campus so that they're getting support with navigating the whether it's just the college sort of bureaucracy, what that happens when you go into a college, but also helping them to access any benefits that they might qualify for both on campus as well as off campus. That program also provides training across campus to faculty and staff to ensure that they know the best ways to work with former foster youth as well. So ensuring sensitivity and sort of cultural competency in those areas. The other piece as well is our PHA shared housing partnership. That specifically targets those students as well to make sure that they have stable housing, and if they don't, that we're able to move them into stable housing through our partnership with PHA.
It sounds like you have a lot of wraparound. I would love to, and we don't have to do it now because we're at the end of our time, to get outcomes of all of this programming and successful graduation of this cohort, and maybe any feedback you've had from them to see how successful are they. One of the big things when you're especially aging out, we've found from research that having a single point of contact that you mentioned, having a trusted adult in their life that they have built trust over time is critical in place of just giving training how to access this. Two different, entirely different things, and I want to really, it has to have a trauma-informed approach to that, so we'll follow up on that. And I had a last question about our faculty.
I'll address that. So we have multiple loads for faculty. Most institutions have faculty loaded for 30 hours. Our faculty have an option. They can be loaded for less, 27, and we have some grandfather faculty that are even at a 24 load, which means the number of hours that they're teaching is much less than at most institutions, community college institutions. But I will say that if faculty are participating in leadership, they receive release time, which is equivalent to one or more classes that they don't have to teach, so they're supposed to be utilizing that time to participate in the leadership administrative duties that they are working on and assigned to. In addition to that, they could possibly also be receiving extended time, which is overage compensation. All that said, we are looking at faculty leadership because I think it's more not necessarily about our process, but more about what is the number of hours that should be allocated or compensated for certain leadership duties as programs change in size, as accreditation needs change. The administrative duties possibly have been changing and they may not have had a compensation or release time has been looked at for several years to make sure that it's current with what is actually happening right now. And so we have a faculty leadership committee that's being put together by administration and faculty to look at that, the compensation, the leadership, the duties, and try to get to a place where it makes sense.
So basically, you're looking at the issue of overload. I'll have us follow up with you after this, after I've spoken with faculty, because I've had some examples cited of how things have not worked. So I don't want to belabor the point, but clearly you know this is an issue and we need to make sure our faculty are well taken care of. So thank you, Council President.
Thank you. And last but definitely not least, Councilmember Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just really wanted to say thank you so much to CCP for having me as the keynote speaker at the Cato graduation program. It was a phenomenal ceremony, just really outstanding. And a lot of the graduates were the first to graduate from college in their families, like myself. And it was really special. It was really very, very special. So I thank you for putting so much into it, or investing in it. I certainly hope this is a program that's going to be around for a very long time and that you can expand it. And I'm a big supporter and fan. So I just wanted to say thank you to CCP and all your staff, your entire team who helped make it work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Well, listen, thank you very much for your testimony today. And as always, we look forward to continue working in partnership with CCP as we invest in our young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, the chair recognizes Councilman Catherine Gilroy Richardson for a motion that the public hearing and meeting on the bills and resolution before the committee today stand in recess until Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026 at 10 a.m.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the public hearing and meeting on the bills and resolution before the committee today stand in recess till Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026 at 10 a.m. in room 400. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. This committee stands in recess. This committee stands in recess till Wednesday, May the 6th at 10 a.m. Thank you very much, everyone.